Richie, you're all very, very welcome. It is Sunday, the 24th of August, 2025. So I want to start this week by addressing some people who have sort of attacked me, but they've clipped my wings. Basically, they are commenting that you're a comedian. Why don't you keep going? Why do you keep on going on about Gaza? Why don't you just stick to comedy? Indeed, some have decided to opt out of my Patreon channel because seemingly they think that as a comic, I should stick to comedy. That's, well. To those who have stayed, an even bigger thanks, and maybe those who may join, thank you too. It's a free world, and I'm not going to have a go at them people or complain. Indeed, to some extent, I understand. People need distraction, especially in the world in which we're living in today, and comics are supposed to offer that. But this is the crux of it for me. I am a human being ahead of being a comedian. For me to ignore the horror in Gaza would be akin to being an entertainer in the 1940s who just decided to ignore the Holocaust. Can't do it. Refuse to do it. And I honestly believe in 10 or 20 years, if that lunatic Trump, of course, hasn't blown us all up, the world will look back and ask, how did anyone with any sense of humanity choose to ignore the suffering of the Palestinian people? So I will continue to do my comedy. Comedy's going to be in here, people. But I will not stop calling out the criminal thugs perpetrating a genocide of over 2 million innocent men, women and children in Gaza and the West Bank. And if you can't or don't want to be exposed to that, then there are many other comedians out there who are just happy enough to operate in a bubble of ignorance regarding Gaza. And I'm not alone. A lot of people get it. A lot of people across the media are getting this in the arts and all the rest of it. A much more famous man than me, a man called Missan Harmiman, a famous filmmaker and photographer. He had this to say on the topic.
Did anyone ever tell you not to talk so much about Palestine?
Is a Pope Catholic? Come on, man. Absolutely everyone that works in the machinery of entertainment, even if they don't tell you, they wish you didn't. And I want to also be proof that you can thrive as a filmmaker, as a photographer, as a storyteller, whilst not losing your soul, because what's it worth? You know, I think of Khaled, what's it worth? Life is fleeting. One day he'll be an old man. What's he going to be remembered for? You know, celebrities are one thing, but there are celebrities that are ambassadors to children's charities. Just so I'm very clear. The charities do one thing, protect children when they're in danger. I am an ambassador of one, Save the Children. The two big ones are Save the Children and UNICEF. One I will name is David Beckham, huge ambassador for UNICEF. And if he hears this, David, I beg you, this isn't about rage or finger pointing. I beg you, you have children, you have raised children, you've just been knighted, you have unspeakable wealth. Be the voice for the children of Gaza. This is the biggest tragedy of the human condition in our lifetime. And for those of us that choose to represent the protection of children and choose to remain silent, I beg you, tomorrow, do something about it. And if you need help in articulating it, I will do everything in my power to give you the data points, to give you the cadence and language that's gentle and doesn't offend those you are afraid of, but helps humanize these babies.
I honestly believe that history will judge harshly those in entertainment who didn't speak out. And history's critical judgment will not be limited just to the world of entertainment, but also that of journalism. Now, for months, I've been banging on about the role played by Western media in not reporting what is happening in Gaza. This is what Holocaust survivor Stephen Kapos had to say.
The Israeli government has said it doesn't intend to permanently occupy or govern Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu's office has clarified their aim is to establish security control to neutralise Hamas's military capabilities and ensure Gaza doesn't serve as a base for future attacks. But listen, you feel strongly about this. This is something that you want to speak out about, but you do have concerns, don't you, that internationally not enough attention is being paid to what's going on, or not enough being said about it.
That's true, and particularly, I think the whole of West is guilty in a way in not opposing this decisively and strongly enough. Particularly the mass media that has been, if you like, lying by omission in not.
By not giving enough coverage?
Yes, by not being enough coverage, and by the way they give coverage also at times. For example, taking Israeli statements unchallenged as sometimes as truthful. Where is their record?
With a perfect example of this during the week, when on the same day that the UN announced they were declaring famine in Gaza, what did ITV News lead its bulletin with?
This is the ITV Evening News with Lucrezia Miloini.
Good evening. The Premier League footballer Antoine Semenyo says supporters who racially abuse players need to face much tougher punishments.
Don't get me wrong, racism should rightly be denounced and called out wherever it happens. But are you seriously saying that a story about a footballer being called racist names is more important than a man-made famine? Surely the Gazan famine will be the next item on the news.
Well, in America, the FBI has been carrying out searches at the home of Donald Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton.
Fair enough. The dictatorial ambitions of Donald Trump are newsworthy. But the recognition of the UN of a famine in Gaza to be pushed into third spot on that night's news says all we need to know about the lack of impartiality in our mainstream media.
The disastrous conditions in Gaza City have today seen a famine declared there for the first time.
Like many others, I refuse to let that bias continue, especially in the week that Tom Fletcher, the United Nations Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief, well, he recognised in no uncertain terms that Israel had indeed pushed Gaza into famine.
It is a famine. The Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. It is a famine that hits the most vulnerable first, each with a name, each with a story, that strips people of dignity before it strips them of life, that forces a parent to choose which child to feed, that forces people to risk their lives to seek food. It is a famine that we repeatedly warned of, but that the international media has not been allowed in to cover, to bear witness. It is a famine in 2025, a 21st century famine, watched over by drones and the most advanced military technology in history. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. It is a famine on all of our watch. Everyone owns this. The Gaza famine is the world's famine.
Indeed, you don't have to search long or hard to find proof of his accusation that Israeli leaders promote famine as a weapon of war. This is what Bezalel Smotrich, the Israeli finance minister, admitted during a speech last week.
במסגרת המלחמה צה"ל מניע אוכלוסייה מאזורי הלחימה ולא משאיר אבן על אבן. אני אומר לכם, פשוט תסתכלו על הסרטונים של מה שקורה ברצועת עזה. האוכלוסייה תגיע לדרום הרצועה, ומשם בעזרת השם למדינות שלישיות. במסגרת תוכנית הנשיא טראמפ זה שינוי של מהלך ההיסטוריה, לא פחות. מינימום נדרש שיגיע לאוכלוסייה, פשוט כדי שהעולם לא יעצור אותנו ויאשים אותנו בפשעי מלחמה. כשהם מבקשים מאיתנו לעזור להם, לעזור לנו ולהזים את שקרי ההרעבה, אנחנו צריכים לעשות את זה. מה שייכנס בימים הקרובים זה מעט שבמעט. כמה מאפיות שמחלקות פיתות לאנשים ומטבחים ציבוריים שנותנות מנה יומית של אוכל מבושל. אזרחים בעזה יקבלו פיתה וצלחת אוכל וזהו. זה בדיוק מה שאנחנו רואים בסרטונים, אנשים עומדים בתור ומחכים שכן ימזגו להם לצלחת, איזה צלחת מרק. האם הייתי רוצה להימנע בכלל מהצורך להכניס גרגר לרצועת עזה? גם לא לאזרחים? יכול להיות. אני מבין מאוד את הכעס, אני מבין מאוד את כאבי הבטן שכולנו כאזרחים מרגישים. האמת היא שעד שאחרון החטופים חוזר, גם מים אנחנו לא צריכים לתת לרצועת עזה.
That should leave him liable to charges of war crimes. Indeed, having stopped food from getting into Gaza, the next step in the Israeli genocidal campaign is the denial of water to that civilian population.
There is no natural drinking water in Gaza. It must be brought in, or salt water must be treated to allow life to survive. 9 treatment units that could provide clean water have been stuck at the border for months. We asked to bring treatment units into Gaza, but the Israeli authorities refuse. Gaza's water plants need fuel to power generators to provide electricity. Humanitarian organizations ask to bring sufficient fuel into Gaza, but the Israeli authorities refuse. Water plants need all sorts of items to keep running. We ask to bring in spare parts and chemicals to provide more clean water, but the Israeli authorities refuse. Israeli authorities, let people have water. Let people live. Israel, stop your genocide.
None of this, of course, would be possible for Netanyahu and his cabal of fellow criminals without the unwavering support of the USA. Why so many US politicians from Trump down, or Trump up, depending where you're looking, why so many of them support the Israeli lies? Well, that may be due to a lobby group called the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, known as AIPAC. Here's the Israeli historian Ilan Pepe to explain the origin of that organization.
I remember the 1950s when under President Eisenhower, American policymakers had strong doubts about the wisdom of supporting Israel at the expense of the Palestinians. And that's one of the reasons that Abba Eban, who was the United Nations ambassador for Israel, created AIPAC, exactly because Eisenhower was going in a way that the Israelis didn't like.
How powerful is AIPAC in the USA? Well, let's go with this. It has 376 employees in their Washington office, and their lobbying expenditure was over $3 million in both 2023 and 2024. Money well spent if you listen to these prominent US politicians with their enthusiastic support of Israel.
God bless AIPAC.
If this capital crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid, our cooperation with Israel.
As long as I have the opportunity to serve in Congress, I'm going to make sure that that aid continues in a strongly robust fashion, no conditions.
For as long as I live, for as long as I have the privilege of serving in the Senate from New York, I will unflinchingly, unstintingly, and with all of my strength be Shomer Yisrael, a guardian of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Yisrael Chai.
Indeed, in the US as political divided as I've ever seen, or anyone's ever seen, one of the few bipartisan issues on the Hill, would you believe it, is Israel? With both Republican and Democrats joining together at the hip, only too happy to line up and take AIPAC donations. He who pays the piper calls the tune. But the reach of AIPAC stretches much further than just the USA. Here's Bob Carr, former Foreign Secretary of Australia, talking about its influence in his country.
The Israel Jewish lobby in Australia is a foreign influence operation. It's designed to put the interests of Israel above the interests of Australia and its foreign policy. And no one else has an operation as well funded. No other country has an operation with offices in every Australian capital city. No one else organises donations to attempt to elevate its influence in the way the Jewish lobby does in Australia. Now, this is simply a fact of life. And I had a record in my diaries of the foreign minister, and they've never been contradicted. What Kevin Rudd said to me about this, the reference he made to it, about money being raised. Tony Burke, in one of the cabinet exchanges, said that in just about every discussion he'd had of how we vote on Israel and Palestine, someone had made reference to the importance of campaign donations as a consideration in this. And the model for the Jewish lobby is what happens in the United States. If any member of Congress or the Senate expresses a view critical of Israel, sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, you can guarantee that someone will be funded by supporters of Israel to run against them in the next primary. And the person they find to run against the incumbent may be someone who's never expressed a view about Israel and Palestine, but there will be a well-funded opponent. Now, I remember years ago I had a meeting with someone from the Jewish lobby in Washington who just spelt this out. He spelt out to a group of us, considered to be supporters of Israel, as we were at the time, that this is how they operate. This is how they operate. And if anyone, even in a remote Rocky Mountains state, a state with an insignificant population like Montana, any congressperson who departs from the pro-Israel line can be guaranteed, they would guarantee, that they would have a primary opponent who would be well funded.
AIPAC, without any doubt, also operates in the UK, if in a somewhat more undercover, shadowy fashion. For instance, here's a question. How many of our politicians have accepted free trips to Israel funded either by Labour Friends of Israel or Conservative Friends of Israel? We'll never know, as such trips aren't recorded in the MP's Register of Interests. While the USA has given Netanyahu an open door to do whatever he wants in Gaza, Trump has taken a much more hands-on approach regarding the war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky, well, he went to meet the president mob-handed during the week to avoid another mauling as happened in the Oval Office. He was accompanied by pretty much every European leader, ensuring this time the welcome he received was much more cordial.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
President. How are you? Nice to see you. That's a good way to do it. Not too long. That's a very... 2, 1. Yeah.
Indeed, Zelensky had done his homework, and I would argue he had consulted a psychiatrist as how best to approach a narcissistic egomaniac, the likes of Trump. And he began brilliantly by disarming the megalomaniac, praising both him and his wife, and offering Trump a letter of thanks.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks so much, Mr. President.
If I can, first of all, thank you for invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States. She sent a letter to Putin about our children, abducted children, and my wife, First Lady of Ukraine. She gave the letter. It's not to you, to your wife.
Oh, I want it.
Yeah. So we are saying this sensitive topic. Yeah. Yes, please. And thanks to our partners and that you supported this format. That after our meeting we can have leaders who are around us, UK and France, Germany, Italy, Finland, EU, NATO. I mean, all partners around Ukraine supporting us. Thanks them and thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you very much for being here.
Trump loves gifts. Yeah, no, doesn't matter if it's a letter. All right, Trump loves to get gifts. Now, of course, Trump had already met Russian leader Vladimir Putin. That was an event, wasn't it? Where, as usual, he behaved like a teenager meeting his rock star idol. Indeed, many argued that it took all of Europe to accompany Zelensky to talk down Trump and realign him with America's age-old allies, Europe and not Russia. After the meeting with Trump, he was still googly-eyed, and there he was wearing a MAGA hat which humbly announced that he had been right about everything. Everything. Trump's right about everything. Well, he held up a picture of him and Putin and said it was great, and that Putin might be coming back. His besotment with Putin was somewhat derailed when a journalist asked a question wondering his thoughts on the destruction of a US-owned factory hit by a Russian bomb in Ukraine. Ouch.
I thought you'd all like to see it. That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending on what happens. He may be coming and he may not, depending on what happens. We have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay of me, but nice of him. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Okay?
Mr. President, on
yes.
that subject, have you talked to Vladimir Putin about the fact that yesterday a big U.S. factory was hit in a Russian airstrike in Ukraine? What's your reaction to that?
I told him I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I settled 7 wars, and actually, if you think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. No, I'm not happy about anything about that war. Nothing. Not happy at all. We'll see what happens.
Now, of course, the reason Trump is so interested in ending wars has got nothing to do with statesmanship. It's alien to the man. It's got everything to do, as usual, with his ego. Trump is obsessed with winning the Nobel Peace Prize. That's all he's interested in. Obama won one, so the other baby wants one. In fact, unlike Obama, he's even lobbied for the award. Can you imagine anything more embarrassing? Yet, while lobbying for the Nobel Peace Prize, he sees no contradiction in him putting military onto the streets of Washington. He has put fatigues onto the streets of the capital. His excuse is his defeat of crime. Now, there's a wee issue with that. You see, the problem with that there is that violent crime in Washington has actually fallen over the last 2 years. Not content with troops in Washington, he's now threatening to do the same in other major US cities, such as Chicago.
The National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police, and we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
Why? Why? Well, considering this lunatic openly admits his ambition to run for a third term as president, which just happens to be illegal under the US Constitution, maybe that's the reason he needs troops on the streets of American cities. For after all, Trump is no fan of democracy. He continues to claim he won the 2020 election, although everybody else has recognized long ago that he didn't. And he was complicit in the incitement of a mob of right-wing thugs who attacked the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021, at his bequest. In his second term as president, he immediately pardoned or commuted the sentences of over 1,500 of those convicted of that attack, including right-wing thugs, the Proud Boys. He even called them patriots. Sadly, with such a demagogue in power in Washington and Europe focused on the threat from Russia, 2 million Palestinians face a very bleak future as the IDF now begin their final solution with their attack on Gaza City. All those, of course, who oppose this face retribution, be they civilian or even in the military. This week, a US active duty sergeant with 20 years service was dragged across the coals because...
So after 20 years of service in the military, yesterday I got pulled into an officer's office and counseled for posts that I have on my social media. During the counseling, they told me I'm under investigation as a threat to national security. When I asked for proof, like what the posts were yesterday, they refused to give it to me. They made me come back today to further go over stuff. They gave me the proof, and the proof they gave me are anti-Israel posts. Now, when I joined the military, I took an allegiance to support the United States of America. I did not ever take an allegiance to support Israel. But yet, I am deemed a threat to national security because I do not support Israel and their genocide against the Palestinian people. Yes, you heard that right. I am deemed a threat to national security because I don't support Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. Since when does not supporting a foreign nation get a U.S. soldier investigated for being a threat to national security?
Of course, closer to home, the draconian legislation brought in by Starmer to criminalize anyone offering support to the Palestine Action Group has seen over 700 arrests. You remember a few weeks ago, I wondered if that could be got around with a little bit of verbal gymnastics. Like I asked if people they do not support Palestine Action Group, but they do support Action for Palestine Group. Would that still get them in trouble? Well, boys and girls, we had our answer during the week when a man in Scotland was detained and questioned by police for wearing a shirt with, wait for it, plasticine action written on it. Following Home Secretary Yvette Cooper's prescription of Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation, this even though not one member of that group has ever been convicted of harming anyone, well, the Home Secretary assures us that she has evidence they deserve to be designated as terrorists, but she can't possibly share that evidence with us plebs due to national security concerns. Well, there you have it. Nothing to see here. Move along, plebs, move along. All the way, the same Home Secretary has no problem continuing to aid and deal with the government of Israel, whose leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, has an outstanding arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court for war crimes. Strange old world here. Isn't it a strange old world? Talking about a strange old world, Fleas, once again, have made a beautiful entrance into our public debate during the week. Because for once it was great because it wasn't us. It wasn't us who were making dicks of ourselves, right? It was them ones on the big island. Yes, it seems the joy of erecting bits of cloth onto lampposts has caught on across the water. It appears that our fixation, indeed obsession, with the Union flag has like a virus infected the English population. They have woken up to the gold, red, white and blue, with a former leading light in the Reform Party, Nick Buckley, MBE, well, he uploaded onto his social media, right, an image of a chap painting the curbs red, white and blue. And he said that this should be England's next patriotic craze, adding, "It's our country. Let's make sure no one forgets." Here's the image he put up.
Hold on here a second. I think I recognise that baldy head. Let me have another look. I know him anywhere. I know him. I know who that is. It's only our own wee exiled Johnny Adair.
Your man mistook our Johnny for a local racist. How dare he? How dare he? Now, Reform have subsequently apologised and taken down the picture. Not surprisingly, this upsurge in flags and flag stories led to the resurrection of a bit of material I did a very long time ago about our own local flag issue. Now, I've actually never spoken about that clip until now. Okay, so this is it, the first time ever we're talking about it, right? And I'll do a wee quick explanation how that wee bit came about. Okay, now long before I did that bit, like most material, most things, observational comedy, you observe stuff. As a comedian, you observe stuff slightly different from the rest of yous. And I knew I wanted to talk about flags, but I never really had the hook on which to do it. And then the flag was taken off the City Hall. The bastards took the flag off the City Hall. And all hell broke loose. And I had my opportunity. Now, on this particular evening, we were filming in Derry, Londonderry, Stroke City, Maiden City, you choose, right? And at first, nobody believes this, but we didn't rehearse stuff. This was not rehearsed. I actually didn't really know the logistics of how I was going to do it. I knew that I wanted wee flags that sort of demonstrate what I was talking about. So I asked the prop department to make me some wee flags. Now, due to the unique way the BBC is funded, the prop department only printed the flag on one side. You don't believe me? I've got them here. Here's one of them here. I haven't got rid of them. These are the same flags. This is the very same flag. Look at that there. That's the flag I used. Now watch this. There's nothing on the other side. They didn't print anything on the other side. There you go. Nothing on the other side. What this meant was my mate Colin Murphy. He said he spent the whole bit sweating his bollocks off because he knows me too well. And he was terrified I was going to show the wrong side of the flag to the camera. So I'd be showing this to the camera and all the punters would be going,
What is he talking about? What is he talking about?
Thankfully, I didn't. Thankfully, I showed the right side of the flags. And this is what happened.
The first time ever in the blame game, we had an idea what might come up. So, this is not a flag. This is
A flag! A flag! The people who have this flag, suddenly the people who like this flag took this flag down off the city hall. Nobody noticed it was there until they took it down. Then 6 weeks of mayhem! 6 weeks of mayhem because the people who love this flag are going, they have taken my flag! They have taken my identity! I don't know who I am anymore. Flags are more complicated because you may be in a part of Belfast, you'll see that flag, but we just don't go for 2 flags. Oh no, not in Belfast. No. We like lots of flags. We love lots of flags. You'll get that flag. You get that flag, and you'll also, on this side, you'll also get that flag. Even though both those flags are already in that flag. Even though their flags are already in that flag. Not to be outdone, the lunatics with this flag, they decided to adopt this flag. Oh, yes. Because they are growers in the revolution. They are similar to us, only with a suntan. They're with us, we know. So because these ones took that flag, these ones then take that flag. Because my enemy's enemy is my friend. Can you imagine being a tourist wandering through Belfast trying to work out what's going on? But it gets better. Then this flag gets involved. The Italian flag. Do you know why the Italian flag got involved in all this? I think you do.
Tell me.
Willie Fraser can't tell the difference between those 2 flags. Willie Fraser. Now, God love Willie. A haircut from the 1960s and a brain from the 1690s. I love Willie. Willie saw this flag, the Italian flag, in a primary school. And stick it for this flag.
What was Willie doing?
I don't even want to know what Willie was doing at primary school. Still going home for lunch. So Willie said it was a Proby training camp for youth and that sort of thing. Because like Batman and Robin, you have Willie and Jimmy Bryson. Now Jimmy does not call it a flag or a flag. Jimmy calls it a flag. They have taken my flag. They have taken my flag away. Where is my flag? I thought I saw a putty cat. Did the putty cat take my flag? Richard Haas has arrived, and he wants to know from the public what we could possibly do to help the situation. Now, of course, what I didn't know at the time, I generally didn't know. I knew it went well with the audience in the Millennium Forum. It went very well. I knew it was good. I knew it went well with the audience. But I had no idea that I'd hit on a public nerve and that everybody had really invested and identified and understood what I was talking about. I didn't realize that because I'm not as bright as my fellow panelist, Neil Delamere, who's a very bright wee bastard. Now, so we were walking off the set and Delamere turned to me and he said, "Ha ha, that's your death piece." My death piece? What are you talking about? He explained, that's the bit of material they will use if they even bother using anything when I die. Lovely. Not lovely? Not a lovely thought? Not a lovely thought? Yeah, that's probably the truth. I know you don't have any control over that, but I would prefer, if they're going to use that, I know what I prefer your man comes on, right? Good evening. Comedian Jake O'Kane died today at the age of 98. Jake had been missing for 3 months and was discovered dead in bed with a Russian gymnast called Olga in Berlin. She said he expired trying to do a very acrobatic sexual maneuver. The truth is more likely going to be, good evening. Comedian Jake O'Kane died today having had a heart attack on his electric bicycle. No one found him for a number of hours, and police have reported his dogs had ate his feet. That's more likely. That's more likely. You know what's more likely? I don't want to be like that, but that's probably what's going to happen. I don't trust them two wee bastards. See my two dogs? Them dogs would eat me if I sat still for longer than 4 minutes. I'm telling you, I keep my eyes on them two. I keep my eyes on them. I'm no. Hope it won't be for a while. Like, hope I get a wee while out of it. Hope I get to annoy more people. That's my ambition in life. Good night.
You'll do nothing. You hear me? You'll do nothing.